Hi, I'm Nevine at Essential Energies. I just want to tell you a little bit about Starchildren. And when a star child's actually not an indigo, a crystal, or a rainbow child, and why that's actually important. In other words, what they are, what they're not, and the fact that there's so many more groups than the three that are most commonly out there being advertised. I guess the most important thing to be aware of is that it's important to know the different types of new kids that there are on the planet, not just to understand how they bring an evolutionary step change that is going to be beneficial to all of us, but of course as a way to support them, because although they bring many new ways of interacting, many new frequencies and energies within their auric field, which will bring about an overall change and evolution, they also sometimes come seemingly hampered with multiple allergies, with a different style of learning, with social requirements that seem a little bit unusual for most of us. Now, as an energy practitioner, of 25 years or so, and having seen these more unusual and more recent inhabitants of the planet, I'm well aware of the issues they do face because I've seen many of these kids as part of my practice. But I also would like to make you aware that identifying them is only part of the problem. Changing their diet is also beneficial, so is your social interaction, the way you school them. Homeschooling's not always the answer. It's not a particular style of schooling sometimes, but the way that we teach them, the very teachers that we actually locate for them, etc., and the style we use. But there's also a range of essences, in other words, a vibrational healing tool that is of great benefit to supporting their inherent signature frequency of their aura and their soul structure that provides a great deal of support. So okay, let's step back a little bit and consider what I said up front, which is, when is a star child not an indigo, not a crystal, and not a rainbow? Well, there's in fact 24 different star children groups on the planet at the moment. We've had unusual evolutionary step changes on the planet from day one. It's just that at the moment, because communication is what it is and our awareness of what children's requirements are, we're more aware perhaps when it happens quickly. And a lot of people have grabbed on to the concept that, my kid's an indigo, or they've been told your kid's an indigo, or they're a learning problem, learning disabled, they need Ritalin, they need that. Or they're a crystal, they're always going to have these little quirky things about them. There needs to be a little bit of stillness here, because if there are 24 groups, and I assure you there are, as a clairvoyant, I've been able to see not only the different frequency in their field, but actually slight variations in the resonance in their DNA, and probably actually also in their genomes. I don't know if the science has actually categorized that yet. I imagine it will if it hasn't. But those 24 groups can be all rather different, and their requirements are very different, right down to diet, right down to education, right down to why they're here. Each of these groups is bringing an opportunity for all of us, not just through what they say, but what they do, and in fact their inherent frequency, to revisit some of what isn't perhaps working on the planet, or perhaps what is working and needs to be improved upon. Ecological changes, socio-economic changes, in other words, poverty, social systems that don't work or are corrupt, where there is inhuman behaviour towards each other in certain parts of the world, the way we treat our environment. It isn't just about recycling and being aware of climate change. It certainly is a mindset that these children bring. They don't always say anything, they just act, or they sometimes just are that new frequency that is bringing in the change. So it's not always those that are rah, rah, rah. Now, as a parent, unfortunately what I've seen is that sometimes, although they've been told, or they've decided their child's a crystal or a rainbow, there's a lot of disappointment and confusion sometimes where what is being suggested doesn't offer solutions, or the solutions it offers are actually inadequate. So to understand the subgroups, and they're not actually subgroups, they're whole groups, 24 whole groups, star 3, for example, which are the kids who can hear your heartbeat, can actually work out what sort of person you are by the rhythm of your heartbeat, because they know that we create our reality by our pure-heartedness. So you may think so-and-so is a fine person, but this kid knows deep down and will behave accordingly that these individuals are to be avoided, not because they're terrible people, but they're just not what is going to take us into the new era that we are entering on the planet. We're always entering new eras, of course, but sometimes it's more obvious than others. Of course, as 12/12 approaches, and a lot of people are aware that, there's going to be a need to create a little bit more change, a little bit more swiftly perhaps, these children become important. Supporting them so they're not outcasts. Supporting them so their allergies don't make them miserable. Supporting them so that we understand them, we respect the way that they approach life, their requirements, the things that matter to them. When a 6-year-old finds a picture of a bear that is being poorly treated in Russia and of its own back decides to raise money from the other kids in year 1 to help the bears without being told, there's something different going on. When you have children who are born with unusual diseases who spontaneously get rid of them, these are the star 6. These are the kids who know that whatever we've created, we can uncreate. And yet they can be misunderstood and overwhelmed by the amount of attention that occurs. They can become rather reclusive. That's been my experience of them. So the range of essences, the Starchildren essences, are a way to enhance their signature frequency, in other words, their ideal frequency that they have brought to create change. Because remember, everything is energy. So when we are born with a new type of frequency, we are bringing a change to the overall frequency. That is pretty much what they ultimately bring. So the essences support that. And you can find out more on essentialenergies.com.au, but also it is important to understand that we can make their life easier. We can actually work out what is the ideal diet, or there is again information at Essential Energies on diet and various other techniques that one can use. So remember, star children are not all indigo. And remember the other thing, we have always had step changes like this. There have been star people on the planet before. The term star child or star person, different people have different beliefs. Again, as a clairvoyant, as an energy worker who's aware of multiple dimensions, multiple realities, and the fact that people haven't just had one life, I'm not about to sell the concept to those of you who don't believe in reincarnation or alternative realities. All I'm going to say is, if you're a parent with a child that is struggling with learning issues, allergies and so forth, at least open your mind up to the fact that there's not something wrong with them. There is help at hand. You've just got to be more specific perhaps than what is generally being put out there. We need just a little bit more clarification and more specific approaches. The term indigo and crystal have been fabulous because they've come out in the media and brought up awareness, but we do need more information and more action.